Hello guys, Sictoid here. This will be my humble attempt to explain the weapon speed bugging or the dual-wield speed bug, whatever you wanna call it. A lot of people already know about it, but for those that do not, I hope I'm able to expand your character building horizons a little with this video. I will use my barbarian to demonstrate things, but these same points will mostly hold true for the assassin as well, which is the other character that can equip two weapons at the same time in this game. This will get slightly technical, because I wanna be thorough with this. I'll go over the basics of two-weapon fighting first, to make sure you are familiar with the concept of it. If you feel like you already have a good grasp on that, feel free to jump around using the timecodes in the video description. With that being said, let's get into it. The way dual-wielding functions in D2 is a little archaic. There isn't a separate swing timer for your weapons like there is in World of Warcraft or games like that, for example. Instead, what the game does is it'll add the values of your two weapons' base speeds together and then divide the result by 2. So it'll take the average of your weapon's base speeds and you will now be swinging at that speed. So for example, if you take a weapon with a base speed of -10, such as the flail, and you pair it with a weapon of base speed of +10, such as the morning star, the average base speed will now be at 0, and that's the weapon speed that you will be swinging at. So a flail and a morning star will be slower than just two flails would be. This will be the case whenever you have two weapons equipped, even if you are not attacking with the other one. This is why you see barbarian players, for example, put their Ist runes in a faceplate instead of crystal sword. It's because the crystal sword would actually be slowing down their swing speed, if they are using grief in a faceplate in the other hand. Before we get into the actual speed bug portion of this, let's get something straight. From here on out, when I say left weapon slot, I'm talking about the slot above your gloves. If I say right weapon slot, I'm referring to the slot above your boots. And when I'm talking about the primary weapon, it means the weapon that gets equipped first. Secondary weapon will be the weapon that gets equipped second. Your primary weapon is gonna be the weapon you are gonna be swinging with when you are utilizing Berserk or any other attack that will only utilize one of the weapons. I have a barbarian here that has two faceplates equipped. I got no IAS from anywhere in my gear. This is my attack speed when I'm using Berserk. Now let's equip a legendary mallet in our right weapon slot. You can see that our attack speed is now noticeably slower. That's because the legendary mallet is a very slow weapon. It has a base speed of 20, so it'll essentially drag down the base speed of a faceplate, which is -30. With our weapons set up like this, the game will calculate our base attack speed as being -5, instead of the -30 it would be when using two faceplates. If I swap the weapons around like this, you can see that the swing speed stays the same, since we haven't actually done anything yet that would affect the calculations. But we are now swinging with our legendary mallet instead of the faceplate. And that is because the legendary mallet is now our primary weapon. It was the weapon that got equipped first. Now if I unequip and then re-equip the mallet, watch what happens. Our attack speed is now considerably faster, and we are swinging with the faceplate since that is now our primary weapon, even though it's sitting in the right weapon slot. This is the essence of the weapon speed bug. When your primary weapon is sitting in the right weapon slot and your secondary weapon is sitting on the other one, the calculation that determines your base attack speed becomes a little different. Instead of just taking the average of the two weapon speeds, the calculation now looks like this. If we do the math with this weapon setup, we can see that our base attack speed is now -55. That's way faster than anything you can achieve when setting up your weapons in a regular fashion. This formula can also work to our disadvantage too, by the way. If we put the slower of our two weapons in the right weapon slot, so that it becomes our primary weapon, we will be swinging like we were caught in a slow motion or something. Because of the speed bug, our attack speed is currently at 45, which is a lot slower than you can get with any single weapon. Setting the weapons up like this obviously doesn't make much sense, so we're gonna swap them back the other way around. Here's a quick recap of all the setups we've tried so far. And here are the same setups using double swing. If you want the short version of how to make this bug work to your advantage, I'm gonna give it to you. You want the primary weapon that's sitting in your right weapon slot over here to be fast as fuck. And you want the secondary weapon that's sitting in your left weapon slot right here to be slow as shit. Fast as fuck, slow as shit. This will lead to the greatest benefits. I have set up the weapons again so that the speed bug is in effect, with the mallet acting as the secondary weapon in the left weapon slot. If we go to our character screen and we have an attack type selected that will utilize both of our weapons, we can easily tell which one of our weapons is currently functioning as the primary and which one is the secondary weapon. The primary weapon's damage will always be displayed first. The legendary mallet of course has the better base damage of the two, so if I see the bigger of the two numbers displayed on the second row over here, I know I'm good. And we can see that we are still swinging quite fast. Now, if we do a weapon switch, we can see that our swing speed got a lot slower again. That is because whenever you switch back to a weapon set, the game will always try to equip the weapon in your left slot first, making it the primary weapon. It will then equip the weapon in the second slot, making it the secondary weapon. We can confirm that this is indeed the case by checking our character screen. This will happen any time you change your weapon set, or when you die and pick up your items, or when you log back into the game. We can rebuck the swing speed by unequipping and re-equipping the weapon in our left slot. This can of course get very tedious if you are swapping your weapons often, or if you are doing very fast runs and relogging often. Eventually there will be a point when you are gonna forget about it. So you might be happy to know that there's also another way to keep the speed bug effective, even if you log out or you swap your weapons or whatever. Note that I currently have exactly the amount of strength needed to equip the mallet. That is 189. Let's remove one strength point so that we can no longer wear it. Now, if we put a Hel Rune in it for minus 20% requirements, the strength requirement will be low enough again so that we can wear it. And now, if we do a weapon swap and then swap back, we can see that the mallet is once again the secondary weapon, and we have access to the bugged attack speed, even when we didn't re-equip the mallet. So what is happening here, to put it in layman's terms, is that the game checks for the requirements of the base item before it checks for that minus requirements mod on the Hel Rune. The game sees that we do not have the required amount of strength for the mallet, but we do meet the requirements for the faceplate, so it equips the faceplate first. Only then the game realizes that, oh wait, there's that minus requirements mod on the item. I guess you can wear it after all. And it'll then equip the mallet as the secondary weapon. So in this case, as long as I keep my character strength between 188 and 152 points, which is enough to equip the weapon with the lowered requirements, but not enough to equip the unmodified version, we have easy access to the bugged attack speed. The game will always set up the weapons this way when we swap our weapons or when we relog. If we would go back up to 189 strength or more than that and did a weapon swap then, the mallet would once again get equipped as the primary weapon. So you need to be mindful of this on your character when you are tweaking your gear. This kind of setup works as long as the minus requirements modifier is coming from something in the item's sockets. A dual with minus 15% requirements will work too. You can also set up the bug with lower dexterity requirements, it doesn't have to be related to strength. However, it does not work with unique, rare or magic items that have the requirements lowering affix on them. It has to be coming from an item socket. So rune words with a Hel Rune in them, or weapons socketed with a requirement lowering jewel or another Hel Rune will work for this, but something like the Horizon's Tornado would not. Another way to set up your bugged attack speed is to use a primary weapon that boosts your attributes so that you are only meeting the requirements for the weapon in your left weapon slot once you already have the primary weapon equipped. I'm gonna end things by showing a couple of example setups that benefit from the speed bug by using the Hel Rune Trick. First one is my mace-wielding Frenzy Barbarian. This is a semi-budget, semi-hipster setup that I use for hardcore. My primary weapon is Oath that I made in Eth Scourge, and the secondary weapon is a Schaefer's Hammer that I socketed with a minus requirements jewel. Schaefer's with the static field proc on it is a pretty cool option for the Frenzy Barbarian in my opinion, because the build otherwise lacks any kind of real AoE. By keeping the character's strength below 189, I make sure that Schaefer's is always acting as the secondary weapon. Another setup that I really like is on my Trapsin. I'm using a Greater Talon in combination with a War Fist that I put a minus requirements jewel into. By staying below 108 dexterity, I can always have the speed bugged attack speed. The benefit of this setup is that it only needs 13 IAS to cap out your trap playing speed, as opposed to the much more sought after double Greater Talon setup that needs 42. I can easily go with Fade over Burst of Speed with this setup and still have best possible trap playing speed. The final setup I'm gonna point out is another Frenzy setup. I have Grief Faceblade as my primary weapon and Death Colossus Sword as the secondary one. This is arguably the strongest Frenzy combination you can get, and it's not too difficult to assemble either. We'll always get the bugged attack speed by staying under 172 strength, which is the base strength requirement for the Ethereal Colossus Sword. With this setup, you can guarantee that the ramp up time of your Frenzy is gonna be super quick. Given that this setup also gives you attack speed and deadly strike for days, you can use stuff like Atmos Scarab as your amulet, which in turn opens up the possibility of using Pride on your mercenary, if that is what you wish to do. It's a very effective weapon combination indeed. There are tons of great setups besides these three, and I encourage you to experiment with speed bugging and see what you can discover. Who knows, I might even cover some speed bug setups on my channel later on in a bit more detail. And with that, we are done. This guide turned out to be quite a lot of work in the end, so if you found it helpful at all, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you wanna do some more research on the matter of dual wielding or item requirements or whatever, I'm gonna leave some links that I personally found helpful in the video description. With all that being said, thanks for watching, Sictoid out.